Welcome to Sundry News for Wednesday, July 29th. We begin today with the conservative review. Oh no, I'm conservative. Here are the top stories. Sweden riding high and the triumph of the rational herd immunity approach. Ha ha ha. Trusting in God, trusting in your people, and following rational thinking and science go a long way. Yeah. Something that everybody seems to have forgotten. Radio host mocked Trump by saying Seattle protests were peaceful. Then rioters torched his apartment building. I feel like I need to buy a firearm, he said in a complete 180-degree turnaround. Dumbass. Listen, are you willing to accept coronavirus fascism as the new normal? No. No, I'm not. Don't think this will go away on its own. I don't know. I just wish things were different. NFL players can be fined for church attendance under league's COVID-19 policy. Strict rules. That's ridiculous. First I've heard of that. Chicago Deputy Police Chief dead in apparent suicide less than 2 weeks after big promotion. Devastating loss. Well, if it is a suicide, then I guess all this pressure, all this fucked up hate for the police probably had something to do with it. Speculation there. What is this? Why does it say listen? Because it's a podcast? Don't think this will go away on its own. Today I explain why the emotional control epidemic will never go away, and the elites are now admitting it. Let's draw a line and fight back now before it's too late. Plus, I explore how lockdown policies are harming the very immune systems God created that ensured this virus is mild for most people. Exactly. I always talk about that. Keeping yourself masked is just hurting you. That's all it's doing. Probably a good podcast. All right, moving on to the Daily Wire. Over 100 police agencies pull out of agreements to guard DNC convention. Yeah, because they've been being hamstrung. Why would they want to go out just to get themselves hurt? Because they can't protect themselves. Democrats bring coronavirus relief package to screeching halt, demand extension of full unemployment benefits. Fucking typical. AG Barr defends sending federal agents to Portland. Since when is it okay to burn down a federal courthouse? Exactly. CDC director, threat of suicide, drugs, and flu to youth far greater than COVID. Okay. Good. Let's keep that going. Spread that around. All these older people are just betraying the fact that they don't actually care about the youth. Major U.S. gunmaker files for bankruptcy. Aw. Why? Gun sales have been going up. Have they not been buying Remingtons? I'm assuming it's Remington since that's what's on the picture. Action alert. Urge members of Congress to support America's alliance with Israel. Ads. Some ads. Blah, blah, blah. Going back in time just a bit to the Daily Shapiro from yesterday evening. Let's see if there's anything that we haven't seen yet. Over 100 police agencies pull out of agreements to guard DNC convention. Just saw that. AG Barr, CDC director. Barr shreds politicians and media in testimony. Peaceful protesters do not throw explosives into federal courthouses. Yeah, I don't even know why it needs to be said, but it needs to be said. And thank God somebody's saying it. Democrats bring coronavirus relief package to screeching halt. Okie dokie. free U.S.-Israel flag pin from the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. America and Israel have always stood in extraordinary solidarity. As we shelter in place or stay socially distant, we join our hearts and hands and spirit with our best friend and ally, the only Jewish state. Get your attractive U.S.-Israel Unity flag pin and wear it as a reminder of your extraordinary support for Israel. And tune into the fastest-growing, hard-hitting, most insightful, and savagely irreverent conservative podcast on the web, The Ben Shapiro Show. I'm going to read this. And what's this up here? From Matt Walsh, The Confused and Pointless Rage of an Entitled Generation. Yup. Warns that there's still a real risk to teachers and students with comorbidities. But if you take those away, since the kids are not at a very high risk of getting the disease to begin with, that means that the teachers are not at a very high risk of getting it from the students. During a Buck Institute webinar streamed on July 14th, Center for Disease Control and Prevention Director Robert Redfield promoted the general reopening of schools, highlighting the low coronavirus risk for children without pre-existing conditions and the unfortunate spike in suicides and drug overdoses, which Redfield said are far greater in number than COVID-linked deaths in the young. Exactly. It's not risk of school openings versus public health. It's public health versus public health, asserted Redfield. However, with all the new rules about being in school, at least in Texas, is what I know, I imagine school's going to be pretty depressing for people. So the drug problems and the suicide, it might just continue. Just saying. It's really restrictive. They're still going to be keeping people away from each other. I'm of the point of view, and I weigh that equation as an individual that has 11 grandchildren, that the greatest risk is actually to the nation to keep these schools closed, he continued. That was not said very well, but I get it. Redfield said that over 7 million children get mental health services from their school. A lot of people get food and nutrition in schools, and added that schools are vital in terms of mandatory reporting sexual and child abuse. Obviously, the socialization is important, he said. Yeah, well, the socialization is what's still going to be kept away from them. And obviously for some kids, I think actually a majority of kids, their learning in a face-to-face school is the most effective method of teaching, yeah. The reopening, Redfield underscored, has to be done safely, and it has to be done with the confidence of the teachers. It has to be done with the confidence of parents, and so I think each of the school districts will begin to wrestle with this. Speaking of the risks of the China-originated coronavirus to children, Redfield said data shows the flu is some 5 to 10 times more deadly, adding that the odds of a child dying of COVID-linked death is 1 in a million. Aha. I think it is important to try to be factual as we go through this. Yes! Let's please be factual, the CDC director said. When we look at right now the mortality of this particular COVID virus, in the first almost 218,000 people we looked at February to July, there was 52 individuals under the age of 18, and if I recollect, about 35 were actually school age. Some of them were younger than school age. We're looking critically at those individuals, and clearly there's an increase in comorbidities related to significant medical conditions. But I think that's important because what that means actually is the risk per 100,000 so far, into the outbreak, 6 months into it, is in fact that we're looking at about 0.1 per 100,000. So another way to say that, it's 1 in a million, Redfield said in reference to the death rate among children. Now, I'm not trying to belittle that, I'm just trying to make sure we look at it proportional, he said. Because if you do the same thing for influenza deaths for school-age children over the last 5 years, there's anywhere from 5 to 10 times greater. So I want people to understand the risk properly as they make that decision. If we could just make everybody understand all of the risks properly. The risks to adults also. Understand them properly, please, because this is not a deadly disease. Just because some things can kill you doesn't make them deadly. because it's not really what's killing you. It's just exacerbating other problems that do kill you. And obviously, influenza, we also benefit from having therapy and a vaccine, so I don't want people to overestimate the risk of serious illness to individuals that are school age, Redfield advised. But what are the... I mean, isn't the best vaccine candidate... Didn't it only show an immune response for like 3 months or something like that? I don't understand how it was ever considered possible that we would have a vaccine when it's a coronavirus. The common cold is also a coronavirus, and the common cold has no vaccine. So why was that always the rallying cry? We have to get a vaccine. Actually, it wasn't always the rallying cry. The rallying cry to begin with was we have to flatten the curve. And then it changed into we have to wait this out till we get a vaccine. That said, there is a real risk to vulnerable individuals that are teachers, potentially that may have comorbidities, he added, and obviously there are some students that have a comorbidity. According to CDC.gov, the risk of complications for healthy children is higher for flu compared to COVID-19. However, infants and children with underlying medical conditions are at increased risk for both flu and COVID-19. The CDC director then discussed the social trade-off of the shutdown, and schools will still be offering remote options, at least in Texas they're required to. I'm sure it's probably the same in many other states. For those children that are at increased risk, that have comorbidities, they can be the ones who stay home and learn remotely. It sucks for them, but if their parents are that afraid, then that's what they can do. The CDC director then discussed the social trade-off of the shutdown, particularly for our youths. But there has been another cost that we've seen, particularly in high schools, he said. We're seeing, sadly, far greater suicides now than we are deaths from COVID. And that is fucked up and should have been considered from the very beginning, and this should not have gotten as far as it did. We're seeing far greater deaths from drug overdose that are above excess that we had as background than we are seeing the deaths from COVID. So this is why I keep coming back for the overall social being of individuals, he continued, is let's all work together and find out how we can find common ground to get these schools open in a way that people are comfortable and they're safe. Don't pander to everybody, though. And if there is a need for investment and resources, just like there is a need for some of the underprivileged children that are probably better served if they have certain comorbidities to do homeschooling, they need the access to be able to have the computer and the internet to do that. The goal is to get all these kids back into education, concluded Redfield. I'd like to see the goal being face-to-face education 5 days a week, as when we get there, then we've got there for those children that don't have an underlying significant comorbidity that would preclude it. And hopefully the states and the federal government will work together to see that the resources to get these schools fully operational come to bear. The full webinar can be viewed. Alrighty. Thank you to the Daily Wire and the Daily Shapiro. Moving on to the Daily Yahoo. Coronavirus stimulus checks. Many Americans would get more in GOP's second round of payments. I thought it was the same. The Republican plan unveiled on Monday proposes sending a second wave of stimulus checks of up to $1,200 to Americans, plus an additional $500 for some. For children, right? I'm pretty sure the rules were kept the same. Anyway, I'm very happy. I'm very happy that Yahoo is talking about the GOP's plan, the Republican plan, since sooner or later, surely they will have to recognize that this plan is being held up by the Democrats. Trump aides, frustrated president won't pay respect to civil rights leader John Lewis. I find that hard to believe. Donald Trump's aides have frustration with the president's decision not to pay his respects to late Congressman John Lewis. The civil rights leader passed away last week. His body was lying in state at the U.S. Capitol on Monday, and politicians from presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden. So what you're saying, that Donald Trump never visited the body? Okay. What is with this? You have to have symbols. Symbolic stuff is just so important. Why is that? Why does one have to go to a certain place or say certain words in order to be in the right, in order to be good? I don't know. The White House Rose Garden is getting a renovation ahead of the 2020 election, and Twitter reacts. The internet's Trump critics had thoughts about the First Lady's announcement. Okay. Texas homeowners are getting solar for $0 down. There are 3 requirements to qualify. Must own your home, average power bill greater than $99 a month, must live in an eligible zip code. Get qualified in minutes. From Energy Bill Cruncher. California sets one-day record increase in coronavirus deaths. With over 473,000 total confirmed alleged cases, California is the worst-hit state in the country and added 10,000 new cases on Tuesday. New York still has the most confirmed deaths of any state with more than 32,300, while California comes in third place with over some big number. Alleged deaths. Emma Roberts' dress is the perfect maternity outfit because of this one detail. Apparently 2020 is the year of the celebrity baby. That picture doesn't even look like Emma Roberts. Is that Emma Roberts, or is that a model in the same dress that she's wearing? GOP climate change denial set the stage for Trump's coronavirus conspiracies. The right has perfected the art of misinformation and science skepticism over the years. Oh my goodness. HuffPost, go to hell. The fabric of reality, the new future of fashion. RYOT presents The Fabric of Reality to usher in a new era of fashion shows. This virtual reality experience, created in partnership with the London College of Fashion, pairs 3 up-and-coming designers with XR artists like never seen before. Immerse yourself using your own VR equipment or watch live on July 29th from 9:30 a.m. Pacific Time. What's hot? What's Yahoo search? Trending now is Mariah Carey, Halle Berry, coronavirus, Ariel Winter, Michael Douglas, Chicago State Company, Molly Hemingway, free plagiarism checker, Katie Holmes, and HELOC loans. Let's talk about this, the right perfecting the art of misinformation and science skepticism thing. Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. Is it the right that says that biological sex doesn't exist? Is it the right that says that if you feel a certain way, then you are a certain way? That's very scientific, huh? Super sciencey. The right does not do the whole misinformation and science skepticism thing. Okay, science skepticism, maybe. Skepticism, yes. Skepticism is a good thing. You can't just... You don't have to buy into something just because a scientist says it, all right? But the misinformation thing, Logic. We want to actually use our brains. Okay? that's not science denial, climate change denial. No, I don't believe that it has ever been climate change denial. It's man-made climate change denial. This is the changing of the climate is the natural way of things. It's not some big awful thing that people have done that we need to reverse. You want to talk about misinformation? How about all the climate models that have been made and then did not actually come to bear? Because that's a lot of misinformation. Anyway. Last of all, we have 1440 in partnership with KiwiCo. Good morning, it's Tuesday, July 29th, and big tech is gearing up for what may be its big tobacco moment on Capitol Hill. Need to know. Tech testimony. One of the most anticipated congressional hearings in the era of big tech takes place today, with House Judiciary lawmakers expected to grill 4 top tech CEOs over whether their companies have grown too powerful. Jeff Bezos, Amazon; Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook; Tim Cook, Apple; and Sundar Pichai, Alphabet, Google, whose companies combine for $5 trillion in market value, will testify together. Critics argue the companies unfairly squash competition and antitrust protections haven't kept pace with the digital age. Accusations include using their market power to suppress competitors in adjacent industries. In one high-profile example, audio firm Sonos said Google stole intellectual property and flooded the market with artificially low-priced in-house products. Lawmakers are also said to have evidence of copy-kill-acquire strategies, where the companies purchase smaller rivals only to shut them down. Separately, the Justice Department and Federal Trade Commission have been investigating the 4 since last year. Alzheimer's blood test. A breakthrough blood test for Alzheimer's has been shown to accurately identify patients with the disease, researchers announced yesterday. The experimental findings suggest a potential route to early diagnosis of the neurodegenerative condition as early as 20 years before symptoms appear. Wow. Despite afflicting nearly 10% of elderly Americans, the precise cause of Alzheimer's is unclear. Scientists believe it is generally linked to tau proteins and beta-amyloid plaques, tangles of molecules that accumulate, interfering with neurological processes. But confirmation is typically made through brain cross-sections after a patient dies. The test, which measures a certain type of tau protein in the bloodstream, distinguished cases of Alzheimer's from healthy patients as well as those with other types of dementia, with accuracy between 89% and 98%. That could be improved. Researchers said the approach may be ready for clinical use in as little as 3 years. Streaming dominates Emmy nominations. Nominations for the 2020 Primetime Emmys were revealed yesterday, with streaming giant Netflix earning 160 Emmy nominations and smashing the previous record of 137 set by HBO last year. The nods for the best in primetime television also recognized Apple TV Plus, 19, and Disney Plus, 18. The lofty numbers reflect the rapidly growing importance of digital platforms in the industry. Despite ceding frontrunner status, HBO had a strong showing with the second most nominations at 107. The network's Watchmen, which helped drive the 1921 racial massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma back into public consciousness, because that was necessary, led all shows with 26 nods. Amazon's The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel came in second with 20 nominations, followed by HBO's Succession, 18, and Netflix's Ozark, 18. NBC, which finished third behind Netflix and HBO, had 47 total nominations. Awards will be announced September 20th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. Can you teach innovation? KiwiCo. Starting to feel a little guilty for plopping your kid in front of the TV while you get a day's work done? Wish there was some way to engage their minds and teach STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math So that's a thing now? In a fun and engaging way? Well, thankfully, there's a flexible solution that delivers hands-on projects to your doorstep. And KiwiCo wants to inspire kids of all ages to see themselves as makers. I'm not a fan of that term. KiwiCo offers incredible crates spanning a variety of interests and age ranges to keep minds sharp and learning hands-on. Crates span from the Panda Crate, targeting ages 0 to 24 months, for playing and exploring, all the way to the Maker Crate, targeting ages 14 to 104, for kids and kids at heart to take pride in a finished project that's both fun and functional. Every crate comes with an activity booklet featuring illustrated kid-friendly instructions, along with all the required materials to inspire creativity and inspiration. Have a child, niece, nephew, grandchild, or neighbor that you'd really like to spoil? Want to spark your own creativity and learning with an adult-appropriate box? Today, KiwiCo is offering 1440 readers 30% off your first month with free U.S. shipping on all subscriptions. There's never been a better time or way to learn with loved ones. Get your first crate now for 30% off. Plus, please support our sponsors. In the know. Sports, entertainment, and culture. Universal Pictures and AMC Theaters sign landmark deal to allow Universal's films to premiere on video on demand within 3 weeks of their theatrical release. The 2020 Venice Film Festival competition lineup unveiled. Scaled-down Hajj began yesterday in the Muslim holy city of Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Officials expect fewer than 10,000 participants due to the coronavirus, down from 2019's 2.5 million. What is Hajj? Just because that's what they expect doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. Honestly, I really think that they're going to get more than that. I think that, Islam is one of the biggest religions, if not the biggest religion in the world. I think Christianity might be a little bit bigger, but I'm not sure. And Muslims are very dedicated, I believe, right? Honestly, I think that it's going to be more than 10,000. Miami Marlins season paused until Monday as half the roster tests positive for COVID-19. Super Bowl champ Patrick Mahomes becomes part owner of MLB's Kansas City Royals. Smart investment. Science and technology. Twitter temporarily suspends Donald Trump Jr.'s account for retweeting a promotion of hydroxychloroquine as a cure for COVID-19. Yeah, from an actual doctor. A doctor. The original Breitbart video had more than 20 million views before being taken down by social media companies. This sort of information should have been up there with the whole big tech thing. See the FDA page on the drug. How about, all right, is that link going to take you to the video? Or is 1440 also censoring? What was that? Containing a dangerous coronavirus misinformation. Dangerous coronavirus misinformation. Good for you, 1440. Just splendid. It's not dangerous. And there are many studies out now that say that it's not dangerous. New artificial intelligence model can identify individual birds for the first time. Program may allow avian and other ecological research without tagging animals. Scientists revive 100-million-year-old microbes found on the seafloor, recovered from the nutrient-limited South Pacific gyre. The organisms only had enough energy to repair cell damage but not grow and divide. Gyre? Business and markets. U.S. stock markets down. S&P 500 down 0.7%. Dow down 0.8%. NASDAQ down 1.3% on consumer confidence decline and contracting earnings results. U.S. consumer confidence declines sharply in July following large increase in June. They were up yesterday. What the fuck? Eastman Kodak awarded $765 million loan to produce pharmaceutical ingredients from U.S. government. Shares surge more than 300%. This is like, instead of like how we used to get stuff like that from China, right? This is good, very good. Gunmaker Remington files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy for the second time in 2 years. Aw. Politics and World Affairs. Brought to you by Yes Please Coffee. Attorney General William Barr defends administration's use of federal officers in Portland, Oregon during House testimony. Accuses local officials of tacitly condoning riots. Yeah, he's absolutely right. Sources say U.S. and Oregon in talks to remove federal agents. They do that, and they just give away the courthouse to the rioters. That's what's going to happen. And then once the rioters have the courthouse, they're going to turn around and start attacking other things. Other things that aren't federal property, because there won't be any more federal property left to attack. They'll go after city property. They'll go after politicians' homes, just like it happened in Seattle and in other places. The American Federation of Teachers threatens strikes if schools don't meet health and safety demands ahead of reopening. My goodness. Fucking unions. The U.S. reports a total of 4.35 million alleged coronavirus cases and 149,258 alleged deaths as of this morning. See the moving 3-day average here. Read the latest federal state-by-state report. Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden to announce running mate next week. Rumor has it it's going to be Kamala Harris, but yeah, who knows? Whether you're a self-proclaimed coffee snob or just want to upgrade your morning, Yes Please has the coffee for you. Every release is a unique mix of expertly sourced beans, roasted fresh, and delivered right to your door. 1440 readers take $5 off your first order and free shipping to your door. Convenience delivered. Say goodbye to extra trips to Target or the craft store to finish up at home projects, and say hello to the beginnings of lifelong learning. KiwiCo is committed to making kids fearless innovators and designs projects to help them develop those skills. At KiwiCo, crates are designed and all KiwiCo crates are designed and rigorously tested by kids at their headquarters in Mountain View, California. Every crate comes with everything you could possibly need for the task at hand and is bound to be a hands-on project that's both fun and educational. KiwiCo is giving 1440 readers 30% off the first month of your subscription. Sign up here. Please support our sponsors. Etc. See the 13 novels longlisted for the 2020 Booker Prize. See the best astronomy photos of the year and the runners-up. Mackenzie Scott reveals $1.7 billion in donations. Who's that? Scottish kelp dates back to the last ice age. Neat. 2 college hockey players rollerblade from Boston to Michigan. NASA is gearing up to fly a helicopter on Mars. In-car cameras want to measure your emotions while driving. No, thank you. The newest cosmetic trend is limb lengthening surgery. Limited edition. Does that include arms? If it's limb, then I'm guessing it's legs and arms. Strange. Limited edition fried chicken crocs sell out in minutes. Clickbait. China is randomly mailing unknown seeds to American citizens. History book. Italian dictator Benito Mussolini, born 1883. Rest in peace, Vincent van Gogh, 1890. NASA's established 1958, 700 million worldwide watch wedding of Prince Charles and Princess Diana, 1981. Rest in peace, Nobel Prize-winning chemist Dorothy Hodgkin, 1994. I know nothing with any certainty, but the sight of the stars makes me dream. Vincent van Gogh. That's lovely. I like that. The moon. I prefer the moon to the stars, but the stars are also beautiful. That's it for Sundry News. Thank you and goodbye.